Happy Friday. Welcome back to Inside the Lines. It is a prop party today, and we have had quite the past 48 hours. So take everything with a grain of salt today, because let's take a look back here at our past 48 hours. We're looking at a 20-3 record. Jake himself, I believe, has gone 12-1 over the past 3 days. Things are looking a little too awesome, so proceed with caution today. Or you can just put it all on us. If you want to trust us like that, we will be very flattered. All right. Get all your questions out in the chat. I'll be looking for them. We're going to start quick, though, we talked about the transfer portal yesterday a little bit, what bowl games that would be affecting. Now, player props aren't exactly out yet for that, but Jake, a few players you want to look out for that might be overlooked in the market that you think could have some good value here. We'll start with Iowa State.
Yeah, so Iowa State's other two running backs who had starts this year, both are in the transfer portal. So Abusama, he's getting, I don't know, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I'm guessing. But he's getting all the carries lately. And he had 200 yards his last game against a good Kansas State team. And so whenever his prop line comes out, it'll probably be at like 110. I'd probably hammer the over no matter what, because he's going to get a ton of carries.
Okay, good stuff there. Another running back we're looking at is at Syracuse.
Yeah, LaQuinta Allen, he said after Syracuse made their new hire that he's bought in, and he's coming off a career high in his last game where he had 144 yards, and we have him at 145 rush yards because he's going against a really bad South Florida defense. So I like this play.
Okay, yeah. Way to get on the board early. Again, as those props come out through the weeks, we will start to look at them. We'll look at the bowl games like no one else is, okay? Jake is here to really dig through the weeds to get some good value here. Let's move over to some of the bigger markets. Let's move over. We have 8 NFL props today between Steven and Jake. We'll start here with Steven and Jake. Actually, we're both on this pick. Put it on the board for Steven, though, so if you guys want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, Keaton Mitchell, he's gone over in 3 of his 4 games where he's actually had a role in the offense. And the last game against the Chargers, he started. So the intros, they have the players, little clips of the players introducing themselves. And they had, Gus Edwards as the starting running back, but then Keaton Mitchell was out there. So that's a positive sign about how he's taking that role and probably in for at least double-digit carries. The one game that he came under this prop, he had 41 total yards, but there's all in like a single half, basically, against Cincinnati. I also think that, if you go back to Lamar's rookie MVP season, he had that awesome 5-touchdown game in basically a half versus the Rams. And I think that's the last time he played the Rams. I think that can stay with a team where you just don't forget that. And you might overly focus on stopping Lamar Jackson and even his scrambling his runs. And then that could open spots for Keaton Mitchell.
Yeah, that's my bad that I have him playing the Titans. He is not playing the Titans. He is playing the Rams this weekend. All right, Jake, anything else you want to echo off that, or did he cover it basically?
He pretty much covered it. I just like this matchup for him. And I should have figured when I put in the Keaton Mitchell prop that Steven already took it. So
I do tune into the Ravens team podcast, and Keaton Mitchell was the guest this week, and he was saying how when he started a few weeks ago, he was still feeling some hamstring tightness. And so, because they talked about how he had the fastest runs on the team this year, and he's like, I've run, he said 1.5 miles faster. He said he was clocked at over 22 in college. And then even when he
4.35, and you said he should have run it like a 4.28
or 4.28. Like he said he had turned his ankle 2 days before the combine. So now he's like, this is the best he's felt in a while in terms of running. So
I wish I knew, because I bet him under for like a 4.33. So you should have let me know.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. We're putting some faith into Zach Wilson here, taking his over passing yard prop.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to bet over on Zach Wilson, but the fact is his problems, he wasn't benched because of his lack of passing yardage. He was benched because of his, soul-crushing turnovers late. But before his struggle game against Buffalo, he had 263, 240, 186, 199, 245 passing yards. That's a pretty good number on the Jets offense. So, the model line has him at 206. I think that he's already lost the job. So, what's the worst that can happen is lose it again. The worst thing that can happen for his career is do nothing, look like Trevor Siemian and Tim Boyle, and then no one wants him right next year. So I think he's going to air it out. He's not going to care if he has 3 interceptions, as long as he has some good throws downfield. So I like him in this spot.
All right, let's move on here to Josh Jacobs. We like his rush attempts here, not rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we're not picking much efficiency. So the model line is 20 carries. Vikings opponents actually average 7 more carries in their road games. Probably has a lot to do with, who they're playing and what the deficit was, and if the opposing team is running to run the clock. And Vegas for a lot of combination, but they've averaged +9 more carries at home. So, at 28 this year, and no one else on this team runs. Aiden O'Connell's not a running quarterback, obviously, and the backup running backs have combined for 3 total carries in the last 4 games. So it's last 3 games. So it's all Jacobs. He's in for an 80% workload, and so as long as the team, doesn't come oddly pass first, then I think that with Antonio Pierce, he's gone over 3 of his 4 games.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move over to one more prop, and then we'll hit some questions in the chat. I'm seeing plenty roll through, but we're staying with the Raiders here with their tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I hope Jacobs gets a lot of carries. At the same time, I hope that Hunter Renfrow gets his share of receiving yards. He was in this weird Josh McDaniels, Jimmy G doghouse that I expected to be the opposite. I thought he'd have a big role that team. But since the firing and since the benching of Jimmy G, it's his over is 3-1. He's at 38, 42, and 32. The one non-existent game was versus the Jets and their defense, so that's kind of understandable. Aiden O'Connell's had 248 and 271 passing yards the last 2 weeks against pretty good defenses. Both KC and Miami are top 10 in fewest yards per game. So he's more than capable. His prop line is only 218. So even if you go by that number, then Renfrow needs 10% of those yards to get the over. And and his career or his past 38 games, whatever the ties to, is 13% of his team's receiving yards, and that's with a good stretch with Josh McDaniels not using it.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's head to the model quick. We'll stick with the tight ends here. Go back to the Ravens with Isaiah Likely. His prop line for receptions is 3.5, 6 targets last game, according to Nick S.
Yeah, I love Likely, and he gets them in bunches. The problem is when there's not a bunch, he seems to lose his role there. We only have him projected for 3.2. We actually have the same line as his prop line for yardage. It's just one of those deals where I could see him. I don't see him getting 3. I see him getting 6 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a bet you can get multiple catches on the same drive, that's what I would go for. That's what seems to happen.
OddsJam actually recommends using the fantasy optimizer his under at 3.5. I would say off that just because, like Steven said, he's either going to get a bunch or a few. So maybe if there's alternate lines, you get like over 5.5 or under 3, something like that.
Let's try our luck with a different tight end here. We'll go to Cole Kmet. His line is also set at 3.5 receptions.
I like this, but the weather is definitely a factor in this game.
Yeah, but we definitely have him over. We have him projected for over 4. So
well, then reception would be better than yards then anyway. Still, right? It's just short pass game and bad weather.
Yeah, but yeah, just look at his volume of targets the last few games. And his low is 4, and but he had 7, 8, and 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like. I mean, his yardage is little because Justin Fields just throws those little screen passes. 0 yards downfield, but hopefully that's a few to Kmet too.
Right. All right. Let's move over to some of Jake's props here. We'll start with the Panthers. We're getting a little anytime touchdown prop here.
Yeah. So this line is actually now plus 200 on DK. It was at plus 245 this morning. I'm like, that's crazy because it was at even as low as minus 160 in some books. Most books had it around at plus 170, plus 180. But plus 245 is great value. Even at plus 200 is some good value because that's around 33% chance. We have him scoring touchdown around 43% of sims. So you're still getting good value at that. And he has 3 touchdowns his last 2 games. And Steven said last week how New Orleans has been really terrible against the run lately. So I like this play.
Okay. Speaking of the run, let's move on to Roschon Johnson over 14.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, Roschon's hit this in his last 3 games. He had a career-high 10 carries in his last game. The Lions' defense is just still a little shaky. They almost allowed the Saints to come back. As long as the Bears aren't down big early, this could take him out of it, which is the big concern here. But I was surprised the Lions just at 14.5 because Roschon's getting a lot more action.
What's interesting is Dante Foreman, I guess, is supposed to be back. And so the sports book the automated feed we have actually has Foreman getting his previous rollback and Roshan going essentially not getting those carries. I like to look at Dave, JB, and Heath's fantasy rankings, and they have Roshan as 33rd running back. This is PPR, and Foreman at 39, and Khalil Herbert at 40. So those fantasy guys, they think that Roshan will keep his bigger role that he seems to have earned the last few weeks. But
I know everyone was saying to pick him up this week, so that's kind of
odds
why.
makers are but are setting based on full season production.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think this is a good spot. If you think so, Bears fans, people really in tune with that team should know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully, it's not a Samaj AP Ryan situation.
I was just gonna ask. I was gonna say who was on last week that just ended up like with one carry the whole day. Yeah. I'm done with Bears running backs. I'm done with the roster. All right, let's move to the other side of the ball quick. Big Cheesy has a question about David Montgomery anytime touchdown value.
What's the odds? So we have him at 0.6 total. We have him at over 0.6 touchdowns. Obviously, most of that's rushing. So that would be, what? We would set that line at maybe minus 120, minus 125. So if you have anything close to even money or plus money, then we would recommend it. If it's more than like minus 120, then we wouldn't.
Yeah. So something interesting about this game is Justin Fields. I think he has over 100 rushing yards in 3 of his last 4 games against Detroit. So he runs all over Detroit. So that's definitely. I know a lot of people are on his rushing yards this week.
Yeah, it looks like there's some pretty big range of odds based on what in the chat, minus 150 to minus 125. So go to OddsJam or the book, shop around.
And DJ Moore was mentioned as well. Looks like we have him at 81.
We love DJ. Yeah, DJ Moore and Cole Kmet are our Fields' 2 favorite targets by a mile.
Mm-hmm. All right, good stuff there. Let's head back to Jake's 2 other picks. Start to get your NBA questions ready, people. We're gonna transition soon, so get your hats on for the NBA as well. But let's move over to Jordan Addison. I know somebody mentioned this in the chat earlier. It was probably Nick, but we do like him over his receiving yards.
Yeah, we're even projected for 47. He hit the over in 4 to 5 games when Justin Jefferson was healthy. And he's gone way over since Justin Jefferson's been out, but people are expecting his production to go way down. But I think with Jefferson playing, it's just going to help him because he's going to be against the number 2 corner, and he's going to be great against the number 2 corner. I was surprised that this line was this low. I wouldn't mind like an alternate over 50, especially if Jefferson tweaks anything again. Addison's going to get a lot of targets, and it's in Vegas, so it's in a dome. So you don't have to worry about weather here. The one thing is that Dobbs did look terrible in his last game, but this is in a dome, and hopefully this is a good game to get his confidence back against the Raiders defense.
Yeah, Dave, Damon Heath have him as wide receiver 33, which is like a must-start wide receiver 2, and you wouldn't have a wide receiver 2 if you had 30 reception yards.
Right. It ranged from 32.5 to like 35.5. So getting 32.5 just minus 115 at BetMGM is pretty good value here.
Okay, partner BetMGM. Good work there. All right, one more here. We'll answer some questions in the chat. I also see we got Buckets in the chat. Mr. Fantasy, Mr. NFL Pro himself. Glad to see him coming out of soccer a little bit. All right, let's do one more prop here, and then we'll switch over to the NBA.
Yeah, my boy Khalil Shakir, Boise State guy. I like his over 30.5 receiving yards. This one also had a bit of a range from 30.5 to 32.5. He played 76 out of 94 snaps 2 weeks ago in the Bills' last game against the Eagles. So he had an 80% rate when he was on offense of playing the snap. I just love this matchup for him too against the Viking. Or it's not against.
Yeah, we had a little fumbling with the graphics.
Yeah, just a little. But still, I like
holiday party last night.
Yeah. Too many margaritas.
Yeah, that's 100% on me. But you know what?
All good. I still like this matchup for Shakir, just seeing that he played 80% of snaps in his last game, and he's hit this over in I think the last 3.
All right.
And I know Isaiah Pacheco might miss the game, which will hurt the Chiefs' running game, which could lead to just a lot of passes and the way that and a lot more stoppages of play, and maybe there's more plays in general.
Mm-hmm. All right, good.
Would Pacheco, is it be suspended from? Is it, or what would it just? He's
Checker,
hurt?
I think he's hurt. So if Casey's time of possession goes down, more pass attempts for Buffalo.
All right, we'll have a recap screen at the end as well for those picks, but let's move into the NBA quick. We'll start with the player prop here with Andrew Wiggins over 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, he started terribly this season with 5 unders and 8 of his first 9, and he's supposedly out of shape. He's shown some flashes recently, 5 and 5 the last 10 with some big games. I also like, if you go back to the NBA Finals when he played really well, he realized he could contribute through rebounding, and I think that the Wiggins. He has this tendency to focus on areas to try to make up for shortcomings. And I'm hoping that he does that with rebounding today. And so we have a model line of 22 for him.
I see a question in the chat that I'd like to get answered. Maxey or Embiid, if we like their over-under today. Let's see, who do they have in the lineup? Yeah, they're playing the Hawks at home, 9.5-point favorites. Let's see if we have any model value here.
We have interestingly some undervalue. We're under projecting this game for because Atlanta's road games tend to be a little lower scoring, but so we don't have any value. We have it right pretty much the same line probably.
I know Embiid has struggled going against Clint Capella in his career. Yeah. So I saw that on Twitter. So I guess a big-bodied big.
Yeah. So we both, the model actually is leaning slightly towards Atlanta in this spot, which is why both these players are right underneath it. But nothing, no strong opinion there.
Right. I see a lot of talk about Sabonis and how this isn't an ideal matchup for him today. Do we like his unders in this situation here?
Yes. The line I'm seeing is 38.5 points, rebounds, and assists, and we only have him at 34. Mm-hmm. So again, we have Sacramento coming under their team total, and we have both teams coming under. So maybe fewer possessions than you might expect, maybe fewer rebounding opportunities than you might expect.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move over to Caldwell Pope over 9.5 points. I think they are playing the Rockets, I believe. Yeah, Rockets at home, 9-point favorites.
So he's had 2 really bad nights in a row. So I think that's what took the line down. We have him at 11 points. At home, he averages more points, nearly 11, overs 35 and 23. Jamal Murray is probable, but not 100%. So maybe that can lead to a few more minutes for KCP. Houston has a great defense, holding teams just 99 at home, but on the road, they're 0-8 straight up and allow 18 more points per game. So it doesn't travel, especially in the thin air of Denver. Denver averages 13 more points at home versus road. They're kind of pissed because they dropped 2 in a row. And so I think that this is a big spot for Denver.
Yeah, and we talk about how we like Denver here. So you have them in a parlay covering the spread along with the Celtics covering the spread here.
Yeah, I feel good about both. My theory is the in-season tournament's getting a lot more publicity and is a lot more popular than people may have originally thought. And Denver and Boston are the teams that are probably the best teams, the odds-on favorites to win their conferences. And I think they're both kind of pissed that they're not didn't even reach the semifinals of the in-season tournament. The model line, if you looked at our probability of both teams covering these lines, would only be plus 150. So if we were an odds maker, we'd only set at plus 150, which is so getting 100 units over 100 more than that is fantastic. The Knicks allow 8 more points on the road versus home. They just allowed 61% three-point shooting in Milwaukee, and 3 of the previous 4 opponents before Milwaukee all shot over 40% from 3. Boston averages 12 more points at home. They shoot over 40% on 3. It's all translating to a over 40% shooting for Boston, which is why we like them to cover, go over their team total. And then Denver, as I said, they're a below average road team, but they're obviously awesome at home. Houston is actually an awesome home team, and they couldn't be more extreme. Houston road and home right now after 17 games. So, and again, I think Denver's motivated after 2 straight losses.
Right. All right, good stuff there. Let's talk about a game we haven't really mentioned yet with Anthony Edwards. They're going to Memphis. If we have any value on his assist line at 4.5.
We have 4.2 assists projected, so no value there.
Not the move. While I have you in there, we'll head back.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's head back to Boston quick with Jaylen Brown. His line set at 21.5 points.
We have exactly that same projection. 21.3.
Okay, good stuff there. This is a good question just about rebound props in general, if we would rather take Tatum's or I guess Julius Randle's.
Which Randle?
I know we have Randall at 8.9 because I was looking into Randall over 9, and that was earlier. Yeah, we still have
Tatum. We only have Tatum at 7.7. He's been rebounding a lot this.
He had like a 15 rebound game.
He's had double-digit rebounds 3 of his last 8, and he's had 7. He's had at least 7, quite a bit. But we have him at
7 or 13. That's kind of like lately he's either having a huge rebound game or just 7.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess Randall would probably be the safer play, but Tatum has like a bigger upside. I don't know.
Yeah, I see Hornets. I see Hornets team total here at 108.5. We make the total 110, so some value there. But anything, your guys' personal opinions that would make you think it goes any higher than that?
No, I know LaMelo Ball is out.
I like this matchup for Siakam because, like I said, I think last week, the Hornets are terrible against defending power forwards because their power forwards are undersized or not as athletic. Like Bridges is a little undersized to guard power forward, so this is a really good matchup for Siakam. I put his over points, rebounds, and assists.
I'm trying to see LaMelo Ball's the points per game for. So in the 51 games he didn't play over the last 101 game sample, the team's offense did drop from 115 with him to 107.7 without him. So he clearly has. But this is most of this without Miles Bridges, who was suspended all last year. So he can offset. And Brandon Miller is actually playing a lot better than I thought he would as a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. You could use like StatMuse to look up Hornets with Bridges and without LaMelo Ball. If you want to do that,
and they've had some big offensive nights without LaMelo recently. But then they've struggled with these games, and then they had 129 and 117, and 117 versus Minnesota is very good.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's take one more question here. I saw it from earlier. The Nets spread, Nets 9.5 point favorites. I believe we do have value on that.
All right, where are they playing? Where am I? Brooklyn. Washington. Oh, yeah. You're always going to value against Washington, I think. We have a very high 65% chance of covering 9.5 even. So I'm interested if this is line steaming in a direction where you might want to act before sooner than later.
To the odds jam.
Brooklyn 9.5. There's a 10 on the board, so it looks like you want to get it before it goes to 10. There's 2 10s I see. So probably want to get it.
A very favorable matchup if you want to play a Nick Claxton prop.
Yeah, we have projected under for him, and I was like, I hate that projection.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are on over 24.5. So, or it moved from 23.5 to 24.5, and I was looking at when it was 23.5. I was on his over rebounds last game, and he hit that, but he didn't score much. But I know this is a very favorable matchup for him.
Daniel Gafford does put up good rebounding and block numbers, but I don't know if he's a good defender. Does that make sense? It does.
I believe this question's referring to Shai, but
Shai Gill, SGA.
Yeah, Shai. Yeah,
our MVP, the true MVP.
Yeah, well, I think I've changed from SGA to Halliburton. I think
that's a good one too. Honestly,
I've always been that way. Just another. He's dazzling. Anyway, we have Shai, no value on the points, rebounds, and assists. I don't know what his line for points is. We have pretty much.
It's 30.5 points. We have him right in line.
We have exactly 30.5 points. So
yeah. I know his rebounds and assist lines at 10.5. So we have him.
We have 10.9 there.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll hit back to Cam Johnson. His line 16.5 points. We like that at all?
I think we have him at 15 points something.
We have 15.5. Yeah. No. So we don't have any value there.
Okay.
The Nets are just such a weird team because it's so hard to predict who's going to go off for them.
Yeah. We pretty much underproject pretty much everybody because because that's the nature of the show. We're just showing the average of the simulation, not necessarily the ranges.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all the questions I see so far. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll keep looking out in the chat, but we'll hit that recap screen really quick because there was a lot to go over today. A little bit of NBA, but a lot of NFL to get you through the weekend. Can't wait for our college props to be back in a few weeks. Jake, this probably feels like Christmas to just have you have nothing, or Hanukkah, whatever you want it to be, but not too much going on for you right now this weekend. All right. With that said, any more questions, please reach out to us on Twitter. Good luck with your bets this weekend. Take a screenshot of this. Again, 20-3 over the last 48 hours. So just remember that and keep that in mind. Take everything you can with a grain of salt. So with that being said, have a great weekend, and we will see you guys on Monday.